It's hard to have a business that has a strong brand and attracts people beyond the money. That's a lot harder than just throwing more money at somebody. And it's even harder to have a business that's truly disruptive, as an example, or something that's exciting, that the business and what you're doing attracts people.
Most companies think they lost a top hire because the offer wasn't big enough. Well, my guest today, Kip Knipple, has spent years inside the rooms where those offers get made. And he says that the assumption is the exact reason companies keep losing the people that they need the most. So we're going to be talking about a lie today that A players are bought with high comp packages. And he doesn't believe that's true. And we're going to dig into that. So welcome to the Real Jason Duncan Podcast. I'm your host, of course, the Real Jason Duncan. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an author. And I'm a guy who's built his life around one stubborn idea. Most of what we've been told about business and success and wealth and money, most of that crap is wrong. Not partially wrong. I'm talking completely wrong. And the people who figured that out, they didn't do it by learning more. They did it by unlearning something that they used to believe. And that's what this show is about. Every conversation starts from the same place. What did this person used to believe that turned out to be false? What was the lie? What was the cage it built around them? And then what's on the other side of that? The gold, as I like to say, is the lie. So let's go find some today. The talent market runs on the belief that most companies have never seriously considered. And it goes like this. If you want the best people, you pay the most. Bigger salary, richer package, outbid the competition, and the best talent shows up at your doorstep. Now that sounds logical. And I think most people right now are probably going, yeah, what's wrong with that, Jason? Well, but it's also, according to my guest, one of the most expensive misconceptions in business, because the people that belief attracts aren't the ones that you actually want. And the ones you actually want, it actually pushes them away. So Kip Knipple is my guest today, and he spent years as a practicing attorney. He was named a Minnesota Super Lawyers Rising Star multiple times before making a turn that most lawyers don't make. He moved into executive recruiting, and then he built a practice around what he calls the quarterback role, where he's the go-to person that clients trust with their hardest talent problems. He's run for Minnesota State Senate. He's finished triathlons and marathons. And somewhere along the way, he figured out something about A players. And in our vernacular over here in my company, we call them the A team. So it fits perfectly. It's the kind of people that every company wants, but very few know how to find or keep. So Kip Knipple, welcome to the Real Jason Duncan Podcast.
My pleasure, Jason. It's an honor to be on the show. Thank you.
Well, I want to start because I want to give you the opportunity to talk about the Capitalist Culture Podcast, which is your show. And I want to do that up front because podcast listeners always like to hear good shows. And you got a good show. That's how we met. You invited me to be on your show.
Exactly.
I was on your show, and then I invited you to come on mine. So tell everybody a little bit about your show, what it's about, and where they could find it. And then we'll dig into this lie about A players wanting higher comp packages.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So my podcast is called Capitalist Culture. It's on every podcast platform there is, on YouTube as well for the long form video. And the actual website for the podcast is capitalistculture.com. But our focus is really on leaders in private equity, in venture capital, and family offices, or founder leaders of parabolic growth companies. And it's really to talk about, the beauty of living in our capitalist society and the ability to, and the freedom to build these great companies, but also really telling people's stories and growing and scaling businesses, investing. I have a lot of leaders in blockchain, Web3, AI, data centers, crypto, all these, emerging technologies. And so people can get an insight into those areas from the leaders, the people on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge of all those types of things. Yeah. So Capitalist Culture.
Go listen to it. It's a good show. He had one terrible guest and all the rest have been amazing. So go listen to it. It'll be fun. Well, Kip, before we started recording today, what you shared with me and my team is I want to make sure that the listeners hear this because, and hear it directly from you. You said that there's a lie out there that's permeated amongst corporate life and in our culture that A players are primarily motivated by maximizing their compensation package. And that is a belief that drives a lot of bidding wars for people. And that's what most companies lead with. And that's the lie we want to deal with. But before we pull that all the way, like, here's the question I ask every guest on the show, because I want it on record. What is this lie that you were told by the culture, by family, by industry, by society that made you believe that was true?
Yeah. I mean, I think our whole society teaches us that money is, when you think of work, career, being out in the world, the marketplace, it's all about money. Like, what can I do to make the most money possible in whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it's a job or investing. And it just permeates everything. Like, you assume that the best people get paid the most money, and that the only way to get the best people is to offer the most money. And it's frankly not true. I mean, for BC players, yeah, I mean, their money is it. But for A players, there's a whole nother realm, a whole nother dimension to not only attracting them, but keeping them.
Well, and that's important too, because there's an attraction and then there's a keep. Those are the two sides of the conundrum we have as employers, is how do we attract the right people and then how do we keep the right people? But at what point in your career as a former attorney, and then you got this executive recruiting and search firm, at what point in your own career did you actually believe the compensation first lied? Did you believe it for most of your career?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was really until I launched our firm and started doing the work that we do, doing executive recruiting, executive headhunting. That's really when the veil was lifted and the lie was proven to be not true. That's 100% true, both in our work and then just in my study, like for me personally, and growth and mindset and development. It was really during this period of running our firm that I personally dove into that too, and have saw nuggets of that evidence that lie was false. And then directly in our work, I saw it firsthand.
Well, so what happened? I mean, was there a person that you were recruiting who was a killer, and you just assumed that he or she wanted the $300,000 salary and the unlimited expense account, and you found out that no, they just wanted recognition, or they wanted the opportunity to move up with the company? What was there a story behind how you discovered this?
Yeah, I mean, it became very obvious in doing searches where you're talking to tons of A players, and you get a consistent theme of what motivates them and what they want. And at a certain point in your career, I mean, money is important, but when you get to a certain level, you want more. And what I came to find was A players want to be challenged. They want to grow. Yeah, they want to make money and have a certain baseline, but like, they want to do something they've never done before and get totally out of their comfort zone and challenge themselves, whether it's a new technology, a totally different industry, or a company that's, either they've been in small company land and now they're in big company land, or they've been in a large one and they want to be in a startup or fast growing. They want something different to expand their knowledge base, expand themselves personally, and push themselves. You've heard the story that A players hire A players, B players hire C's, and they want to work with people that are also A players and be a part of a team. Your A team analogy or term. They want to work with other like-minded people that want to grow and expand and hunger for that their entire lives. They're continuous learners. They're curious. They ask questions. They don't want the status quo. They might come and fix a company, but once it becomes stagnant or it's status quo, they want to go do something else. Yeah. And the truth is, and what really gets revealed about the money thing is, someone can always come along and offer more money. No matter how much you offer them, someone can come along and offer more. But if your brand, your culture, the thing that you're doing, let's use like SpaceX as an example. If you're trying to get to Mars, or you're trying to put data centers in space, like, nobody else can offer that, no matter how much money they throw at you. Like, that's some cool stuff you're working on that nobody else is, and nothing can compete with that. Nobody can come along with a better offer if that's something that you're super interested in?
So one of my mentors taught me this a while back, and I don't think I believed him at first, but now I'm 100% all in on it. And I think you'll agree with me. I want to see what you think. He said there are 3 reasons why top talent will want to come to work for you and stay, which are the 2, the find and keep, right?
Right.
The find and keep. Number 1 is opportunity. Number 2 is recognition. And number 3 is compensation. And it's in that order.
Yes.
Like compensation is part of it, but it is not the leading edge factor. So I think that falls in line with what you're saying, is that this lie is that people just want to be paid and they don't care what the opportunity is. They don't care what the recognition is. They just want to be paid. But the reality is, if you just go back and look, and you more than most know this firsthand as a recruiter, you can find that A player. And when you really dive in deep, you find out they just want to see an opportunity. They want to learn. They want to be challenged. There's an opportunity, whether it's management or ownership or equity. And then second, they want to be recognized for their work. And everybody wants to be recognized different. Somebody wants their plaque on the wall, their face as an employee of the month. Other people want to just pat on the back, or be involved in a great team that does something cool. And then third and final, they want to be compensated fairly. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
So what do you think, opportunity recognition and compensation in that order? Would you agree, disagree? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of A players, I mean, as you said, recognition can come in many forms. Like, I don't know that those people need to be patted on the back. They just know they're great. They don't need to be told. I mean, and there's people are wired different ways. I don't know if you're familiar with like the Enneagram, but like, do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm an 8, which is what a lot of these people are. And an 8 just, they seek to do great things, and they don't care if anybody knows about it. They know about it. Like that's what's important versus I forget what the other one is, where it's all about recognition. It doesn't count.
Opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't count unless someone sees it. Yeah. And again, people come in all different shapes and forms. So recognition can come in different ways, but yeah, the opportunity, I mean, that is number one. They just they don't want to be stagnant. They want to learn new things. And I can't tell you how many leaders I have gotten to know personally and through our work that get paid massive amounts of money, but they're bored out of their mind. Like they could do what they're doing in their sleep, and they're desperately looking for something else. Even if it's a huge pay cut, they are just bored, even though the money is flowing in. It's at a certain point, you get a certain amount of wealth that like more is more, but like you want something more than just the wealth. I mean,
yeah. I mean, we all go through seasons and changes in life. I mean, different context requires different things. I mean, I've seen it happen before. As a matter of fact, I've got a colleague who's a member of a private club here in Nashville. We've met through that club, and he's been a high up guy in the medical healthcare. Healthcare is, Nashville's a healthcare capital of the world. So there's a lot of healthcare people there. And he's been in the healthcare, high up in the healthcare, and he's so tired of the corporate crap that he used more colorful language than that, but he's like, I'm so tired of this. He quit and took a job as I think he's the CEO of a nonprofit that serves in the healthcare world, or maybe it's not a nonprofit, maybe it's an association, but the question we all asked him, like, are they going to pay you what they're paying? Like, we know you're probably a high 6-figure guy, if not 7. I mean, that's none of our business, but like, there's no way an association is going to pay that much. He goes, this is not what it's not about that. Yeah. It's not about that.
Yeah. And especially like when people have had an exit, like they sold their company and they're looking for something else. Now it isn't, they have a huge lump sum of money. Now they just want to work on cool, market disrupting, I mean, whatever it is, nonprofit, whatever it is, they want to work on something that means something to them.
Yeah.
And it isn't about the money. I mean, that's a prime example of when I see that so many times.
So when you left being an attorney to go into executive recruiting, what year was that?
So I actually went from practicing law. I did corporate M&A, commercial real estate. I went to CB Richard Ellis, a big commercial real estate company, and did corporate real estate before getting into executive search. But I started doing executive search about 13 years ago.
Okay. So when you started doing executive search 13 years ago, like what was Why? Like, why'd you say, hey, I want to go headhunt these people and connect it? Did something happen that said, this is an opportunity I want to get into? Because I can imagine, as you know, if you're doing M&A and you're doing corporate, commercial real estate, lawyer, I mean, not that you can't make good money doing recruiting. I know you can. So that's not to say that you can't, but like, I'm sure that was paying pretty well. So does your own story kind of about this comp plan lie play into why you made this decision?
Well, yeah, I'll take you through the full story. So when I was practicing law, I went to our managing partner of our firm and the head of our M&A practice, the head of our real estate practice, just talking. And there were a lot of things. One is the only way to make more money as a transactional lawyer is to bill more hours. Well, there's only 24 hours in a day, or to charge more per hour. And there's only so much you can reasonably charge someone before they're like, no. And you can create leverage and have people working underneath you and things like that. But what I liked was I like doing deals and I like winning business. And as a transactional lawyer, again, this is what I got from these partners. They've said, I've been practicing for 25, 30 years. Every once in a while, I get to actually put the deal together. But usually the decision makers have done that. Then they come to us here at the firm and say, draft the documents to make it happen or solve these problems as we're heading to a closing. But very, very rarely do you actually get to put the deal together. So again, I started talking to a bunch of mentors, a bunch of people, and I like the commercial real estate stuff. And there were some folks I knew in commercial real estate that had been lawyers, but had been doing real estate for a number of years. And we put a team together. And so I went to CBRE, largest commercial real estate company in the world. Again, doing corporate real estate. CB calls it global corporate services. So we'd represent companies and do all their real estate, negotiate their leases, buy and sell their buildings if they owned it for their own operations. But there we're doing deals, and loved it and did that for a long time. And then met some people in the executive search business, really to refer business back and forth. I mean, a bunch of different groups. And then one group started to recruit me for about a year to come join them. And then that's what I did. I finally turned around and joined them. Partly CBRE was becoming very corporate. I mean, it was entrepreneurial in the beginning, but it was becoming more and more corporate, where you're going to meetings for meetings' sake, and it's just taking time away from actually doing what you love to do. And it was quasi, entrepreneurial. It was almost like people that own franchises. You're kind of an entrepreneur, but you're really leveraging the brand. You're not starting from zero. You're leveraging the brand, and you're running your business within that. So you're maybe a 50-50 entrepreneur. So I liken that kind of to what it was like at CB. CB opened doors because you're the biggest, you're the safe bet. But there was a switch when I started in executive search. In the beginning, I turned around to my existing clients, but instead of doing executive search, instead of doing commercial real estate, started doing executive search. And the conversation was different immediately. It was much less stiff and formal. People let their guard down. It was much more personal. And that was just such a better fit for my personality and really getting to talk to people. And people were much more willing to talk to me, I think, because CEOs, owners, just in the back of their head thought, I'm going to be nice to Kip because maybe at some point I'm going to want a new CEO role, or I'm going to, sell my business and want to find something else. So the conversation was totally different, and, kind of learned the business, then wised up and launched my own firm, and we grew it from there. But I make a lot more money doing executive search than I ever did in commercial real estate, to answer that question. But yeah. I'm totally in control. Like, if it totally fails, it's my own fault. If we succeed, obviously I have a team, and it's not just me, but like, I love being in control and making the ultimate decision. I'll talk to the team, talk to my leadership team, but ultimately I need to be the one to make the decision. I will absolutely take everyone's input. My ideas are not necessarily the right ones. Like, I will truly listen, but I just want to ultimately make the decision.
Yeah. All right. I want to dig back into this compensation lie, why companies believe it, why it's been such a pervasive lie. But before we do, I've got a couple things I need to talk to the audience about. Most of the people that are listening to this, I'm assuming you're a business owner if you're listening, And if you're a business owner who's ever thought about what it would take to sell your company or even just get yourself out of the day-to-day operations, I've got a live training coming up later this week, that you need to attend. It's called What to Fix Before You Exit. And in 60 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the biggest mistakes that founders make that kill their company's value. And I'm going to show you what buyers are actually looking for before they write a check. You can register at whattofixbeforeyouexit.com. That's whattofixbeforeyouexit.com. It's free, it's live, and it's going to change how you think about your business. That's whattofixbeforeyouexit.com.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
Now I want to thank today's sponsor, Dub. If you're growing your business, one of the things you're going to pay attention to is you need personalized video outreach. It's definitely got to be on your radar, because it's the way that you stand out in a crowded inbox. Personalized videos sent by Dub can show up in text messages, LinkedIn messages, email inboxes, and I have personally been using Dub since 2018, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that I use Dub nearly every single day. It makes it very easy to record a video that can stand out in that crowded inbox. I mean, I get hundreds of emails every week that I never read. I just skim it and click delete. But if there's a video there, I'm going to watch it. And I'm probably going to click on it. And so Dub allows you to put clickable calls to action. You can get people to instantly book calls with you, get real-time analytics on who watched it, when they watched it, did they click on it, so that you know how your videos are performing. If you want to up your game in sales, you really should use Dub. And you can start off for free and get 50% off 2 months. Your first 2 months at my link, therealjasonduncan.com/dub. That's spelled D-U-B-B. therealjasonduncan.com/dub. You can learn more right there, and you can get started. Thanks to Ruben and Darius and the guys over at Dub for sponsoring the show for so long. They've been around a long time, and we appreciate them very, very much.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
Okay, Kip, let's get back into this lie. So here's what sits with me as I listen to you talk about this. So companies that led with money thought that they were doing it right. I mean, a lot of times they won the hire, they filled the seat, and the cost didn't show up in the offer letter. The cost of that showed up 2 years later when the person left for a harder problem, to even a smaller paycheck maybe. And that's an invisible loss, and you can't put that on a spreadsheet. You can point to it. You can point to it just anecdotally, but it's not showing up in the quarterly review. And what happens is these companies build this cage, this golden cage, as I call it, precisely around the idea that the cost of building the cage seems like the thing you're supposed to do, that you're supposed to pay more. So what do you now know after learning this over the last 13 or so years? What do you know that you wish you'd have known 20 years ago? And why do you think nobody told you?
Yeah, I mean, culture matters in a real way. Like, the purpose of the business really matters. And in some ways, I mean, it's easy to throw money at a problem. It's hard to have a business that has a strong brand and attracts people beyond the money. That's a lot harder than just throwing more money at somebody. And it's even harder to have a business that's truly disruptive, as an example, or something that's exciting, that just the business and what you're doing attracts people, because it's different. I use SpaceX as an example, like setting the mission to go to Mars or to put data centers in space, which is what they're about to do now, or like Tesla cars. I know I'm just going to use in Elon's businesses. I mean, those are fundamentally different, unlike anything else. It's hard to have a business like that. So in some ways, to use your sales example, I mean, you have to sell what you have, but you have to find a way to tell a compelling story that attracts A players beyond just money. I mean, money's part of the formula, but you have to have a compelling story. And then once the person comes and joins your business, it has to be true. You really have to be doing something different or something compelling or something, the promise that you made in attracting the person has to be real. And again, these A players want to be a part of the solution. They don't want to be, told what to do. They don't want to be micromanaged. They want to be a part of helping you solve whatever problem you're trying to solve in your business, whatever your business is trying to solve. They want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Well, I think you've said that compensation is the scoreboard. It's not the game. And I think that's a clean line, but most hiring managers and most HR teams, most founders writing the offer letters, they're staring at the scoreboard because that's the only number they can actually control. So growth and challenge and mastery over certain skills, those are hard to quantify and even harder to put in a letter offer. So they default to what they can write down. And I believe that's the cage. And they built it, not because I don't think it's because they were lazy necessarily. I think they built it because nobody handed them a different blueprint. So how do people like you who know the truth, especially in the world that you're in recruiting, how do you tell them, hey man, you don't have to throw money at this thing? Especially when you get paid as a result of how much money they pay. I mean, let's be real. Like, how do you educate them around this lie?
Yeah. I mean, part of it is, yes, we get paid by how much they get paid. But like, if we want long-term trusted relationships with our clients, we're thinking beyond just like one deal or one search. So we want to really be giving them sound, true, honest advice. But it's a lot of time, educating companies. I mean, we spend a lot of time getting to know them, the business, the culture, the core values, before we ever do an actual search. But we try to be real and really be a trusted advisor and give them honest feedback, sometimes things they don't want to hear, of what the weaknesses or opportunities are in their business or this particular role or the offer or how you're presenting to the marketplace. We want to help them craft that so that Kip Search, our firm, can be an extension of their brand in telling their story and telling something that's compelling, but also honest and true to attract those A players. And sometimes we have to, be honest with them. Like, you don't have an offering that is good enough. Obviously we finesse it and say it in a diplomatic way, but you have to be realistic in who you're going to attract for this role and for your business.
Yeah. So, I think that's a compelling story for how you work with your client, but I don't think it answers the question about how do we change the narrative that just pay more money wins you the people, because that's the premise of what you're saying you believe is that's not true. So how do we start training people to think differently? It's not just about the money. It's something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's doing things like this. I mean, coming on this podcast, telling the story, telling the world, using social media or whatever it is to like tell the story and get the message out there. People, I hear it more and more on podcasts now or in, some of the books that I've read, so writing books. I mean, just like all the things that people do to communicate ideas, we need to do those in order to kind of share that with the world. Speaking at conferences and telling the story. It's hand-to-hand combat in some ways.
Well, I think, I think you're in a unique position, especially since you run a recruiting firm, to have a unique marketing message around this. Is because everybody knows that recruiters get paid. Typically, it's a certain percentage of the first year salary, the person you place. That's how the game works, right? And so therefore, it would stand to reason logically you'd want the comp packages to be as high as possible. But you're saying the opposite. You're saying, listen, at Kip Search, we want you to pay appropriately, and it's out of context, this would sound terrible, the least amount possible. Like that would sound like you're just trying to steal from people, and that's not what we mean. But we want you to put together a true comp plan, but really offers them the opportunity, the recognition that they need, and the comp plan that's reasonable and appropriate for that. Don't just go with more money. I think, Kip, I mean, I don't know if you've thought about that, but like if you market that as a recruiting firm, like people are like, wait a minute, everybody else is just saying pay more, because that's how they get paid. And this guy, Kip, he's saying, no, we don't need to pay more.
That's a good idea. I will run with that. We've not done that. We've marketed in different ways, but not head on point on that. So
well, I mean, listen,
I've
hired recruiting firms in the past, and we've got a recruiting firm that we work with our mastermind, the Exeter Club, that's a partner of ours. And I've paid the 33% or the third or whatever it is of the first year salaries, and I've also negotiated other deals where it's flat fee. And I don't know, for me on my side, I don't know that there's a lot of difference in the outcome. Obviously, what that person, the recruiter, earns is more if I do it the former way, the normal way. But I'm seeing advantages both directions. But what I'm saying all that is to say is that if a recruiter reached out to me and said, "We believe," and then they said, "What you and I are talking about,"
Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm listening to you, man, because like this is antithetical to what you say, like what most people in your position would say, because you're going to get paid less money.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
And you know, and it's not about paying people peanuts. That's not what this is about, because you still need to pay people a fair wage. People want to earn money. Nobody wants to work for free.
Yeah. And A players are not cheap. I mean, you have to pay them a lot of money. Like that is a given. The point is it's more than just that.
Exactly. It's not the first thing.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you a couple other questions. So if you really think about this idea that the A players, we have the misconception that we just have to throw more money at them to get the people. That's a lie. I think we've established that. But what's the cost of companies who continue to believe that lie? If they stay in it for, say, another 5 years, what do you believe the cost is?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna pay a lot of money to get people, but then someone's going to come along and pay them more. So you're going to pay all this money to get this person. You're going to have them for a much shorter period of time than you would have otherwise, because they're going to take because especially if they're motivated by money in that way, or maybe the better way to put it is you're at risk of losing them because someone's going to come along in 2 years or 1 year and pay them more.
Yep. What you attract, I heard somebody say this a long time ago, what you attract them with, hold on, let me make sure I say this right. What you attract them with is what you attract them to. Yeah. And that was used in a different context. It was used in a church context, like churches that are doing these outrageous, community events and dropping Easter eggs from helicopters and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like that's just entertainment. If you attract them with it, that's what you're attracting them to.
Right.
And as soon as you pull the helicopter and the Easter eggs away, they got nothing left. They're gone to the next place. So this applies in this situation. I think you just said it right, is that if you bring somebody in purely on comp, then you're going to lose them purely on comp.
Right. Exactly.
That's a good point, Kip. Now this next question there's only a couple questions left, but the next one is I'm going to give you an uninterrupted minute. But this is before we close out. I want to give you 1 full minute. I'm not going to interrupt. I want you to tell the world as directly and as passionately as you can what this lie is, why they've been believing it, and what the truth actually is. So, Kip, go.
The lie is the only way, or the most important way, to get A players, or the A team, as you put it, is to pay them more money. And that's patently false. More money is important. A players, the A team wants an opportunity. They want to stretch themselves. They want to learn something new. They're continuous learners and growers, and they want to have an impact. They want to be a part of the solution, and they want to be challenged. They want the status quo. So while you need to pay them well, they need something more than that to attract them, and especially to keep them. They need to be working on like a mission to change the world or disrupt an industry or a technology. They want something much more than money. How's that?
I love it. So now how can people get in touch with you? If somebody's listening to this, like, okay, Kip Search has got my attention. I like this Kip Knipple guy. I love what he's talking about. How do you want people to engage with you?
Yeah. So Kip Search, name of our firm, it's kipsearch.com is our website, but Kip Knipple, KIPKNIPPEL is my name. And it's that on all social platforms. So you can find us on everything, and you can find Kip Search on everything, named just as it is.
And we'll have all this in the show notes. So if you're watching on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to this, or if you're on my podcast page at therealjasonduncan.com/podcast, you'll find all of this information for Kip and how to get in touch with him right there in the show notes. All right, last question. So if someone's listening to this right now and they're still living this lie that compensation is what drives the major decisions for A players, And I'm assuming that most people are they came into the show with that lie. And I'm probably guessing we didn't change a lot of people's opinions. They're going to have to sit with this one a while because I know I had to.
Yeah.
But if they're still believing this, what's the one thing you want them to hear before this episode ends?
A players, they want to grow. They do not want the status quo, and they want to be challenged and learn. So if you can have an offering that will challenge these people, grow them, stretch them, and allow them to have impact and a part of the solution that you're trying to deliver, that is the way to attract A players and to keep them.
Love it. Kip, it's an honor to have you on the show, man. It's good to know you, and I like you. We should probably try to do some stuff together, man. This has been fun.
Yeah,
I appreciate you being here, man.
I like you, Jason. Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure, and I'm honored to be on your show. So thank you so very much.
All right, that's a wrap on today's episode. If you saw a bar on your cage that you hadn't noticed before, I want you to take a minute to send this episode over to someone who needs to see theirs. The gold is the lie. As always, I'm your host, the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King. We'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. Remember, we release new episodes every single Monday, so make sure you tune in. You can find all the show notes, everything from today's episode, and more at therealjasonduncan.com. If you want to follow Jason, just search The Real Jason Duncan on your favorite social media platform or your favorite AI platform. You'll find him there. We'll see you next time on the Real Jason Duncan Podcast.